When you picture the Olympics, you picture peak human performance, right? The fittest people alive, gold medals, national anthems, a single manly tear rolling down a cheek. Yeah, throw that all in the trash. Because in 1904, America hosted a marathon so cracked out of its mind that the guy who won it got poisoned by his own team. A completely different guy did most of the course in an Uber. Sort of. A Cuban mailman stopped for a nap halfway through and still beat the entire field. 32 men started this race, 14 men finished. And honestly, by the end of this, you'll be shocked that the number wasn't 0. This is history goes wrong, and 1904 just might be the worst race ever run. So you gotta understand the conditions, because they are genuinely insane. This whole thing goes down in St. Louis in August as a side attraction to the World's Fair, which already tells you exactly where the not killing the runners ranked on the to-do list. It's 90 degrees. The course is 24 miles of bone-dry dirt road. Oh, and the officials are driving cars right alongside the runners the whole way, kicking up giant clouds of dust into the lungs of the guys who, are trying to breathe. Now, maybe a normal person organizing a marathon in 90-degree heat might think, maybe I should give these boys some water. The head organizer, a guy named James Sullivan, did not think that. Sullivan genuinely believed not drinking water made you tougher. Enjoy my impression of this guy. You drink water, you bubble-blowing wussies? You wouldn't live a day in my shoes. I used to walk 30 miles on a water fast through the Sahara Desert to get to school. Yeah, sorry for that. Anyways, so across the entire 24-mile course in the August sun, he set up exactly uno. Yep, that's one water station. One, around the halfway mark. That was the whole hydration plan. Today, this man gets sued into oblivion. In 1904, he's running the Olympics. And it goes exactly how you'd expect. One runner, William Garcia, collapses on the side of the road around mile 8, on the verge of meeting Jesus, because all that dust had literally shredded the lining of his stomach. Doctors said another hour out there and he wouldn't have survived. And Garcia was one of the lucky ones. Out of 32 guys who started, only 14 finished. That is the worst finish rate in Olympic history. I'm glad to see I'm in the same shape as half of the Olympians from that year. That's pretty cool. And I need you to remember, we haven't even hit the weird part yet. Okay, let's talk about my favorite man in this entire story. His name is Felix Carvajal. Felix is a mailman from Cuba. Not an athlete, a mailman. He hears about the Olympics. He decides he's gonna go compete in the marathon and raises the travel money by standing in the street, basically GoFundMeing himself straight to strangers' faces. Goat behavior. Except for on the way to St. Louis, he stopped in New Orleans. And he kinda gambled the entire thing away. Every penny. Which, hey, no judgment, Felix. I've lost money on dumber things than a card table in New Orleans. Anyways, now he's broke in Louisiana with no way to get to his own Olympic race. So he does the only logical thing. He hitchhikes. He rolls up to the starting line not having eaten in 40 hours, wearing regular street clothes and heavy dress shoes, because that is genuinely all he owns. Somebody had to cut his pants off at the knee with scissors right there so he could actually run. This is the guy, this is who's towing the line at the Olympic Games. And here's the insane part. He's doing fine. Actually, good. But remember, this man had not eaten in nearly 2 days. So mid-race, starving. He clocks a spectator holding a couple of peaches. And in his head, it's a polite negotiation. "Excuse me, sir, might I trouble you for one of those? I haven't eaten since Tuesday." The guy said no, so Felix drops the negotiation entirely and just, takes them. He snatches the peaches, keeps running. A little while later, he passes an orchard, steals some apples too, also eats those. Only one problem. The apples were rotten. So now our boy's got violent Taco Bell level stomach cramps in the middle of an Olympic marathon, in 90-degree heat, running on stolen fruit like it's diesel fuel. And what's his move? He lies down on the side of the course and takes a nap. A nap! So I fall asleep at work and it's a fireable offense. And this dude pulls it off in the actual Olympics and no one batted an eye. He wakes up, dusts himself off, and finishes the race. In 4th place. 4th. He beat trained athletes with a power nap and a stomach full of garbage. Absolute legend. Now, while Felix is out there catching up on some sleep, let's get to the man who actually crossed the finish line first. Fred Lortz, American. And Fred Lortz's race falls apart early. Brutal leg cramps around mile 9 and he taps out. Done. Cooked. So one of the officials pulls up in a car and offers him a ride back towards the stadium. Totally fine. He's out of the race. He's just catching a ride home. Remember the whole Uber thing from the start of the video? Yeah, this is the Uber thing. Because as the car cruises past all the other runners, you know, the ones still out there dying in the heat and the dust, Fred is sitting in the passenger seat, waving at them, living his best life. Honestly, if I'm dropping out of a race, I too am rolling past my competition with the window down, blasting Party in the USA and drinking a cold one. And then the car breaks down, about 5 miles from the finish. So Fred looks at the stadium in the distance, looks down at his perfectly rested legs, and goes, you know what? I can do this. Hops out and finishes the last stretch of the race. He's got his arms up, crosses the line first, and the crowd goes absolutely feral. He's the champion. They wheel out Alice Roosevelt, the daughter of the actual sitting president of the United States. She places the victory wreath on his head. They're about to hand him the Olympic gold medal. When people in the crowd start going, wait, but hold up. Didn't we just see that guy in a car? Busted. Fully busted. And when the officials corner him, Fred's defense is genuinely beautiful. Whole thing collapsing around him, he just goes, relax guys, it's just a joke. A joke? You rode 11 miles in a car and let the president's daughter crown you. It's a joke, Fred. They banned him for life on the spot. Although, plot twist, they let him back a few months later, and the guy went and won the Boston Marathon the very next year. For real that time. Redemption arc from a guy whose whole thing was catching a ride. So the mailman napped, and Loris took a car, which leaves one question. Who actually won this thing? The gold went to the runner named Thomas Hicks, and Thomas Hicks barely survived this race. Emphasis on barely. This is the darkest, and honestly the most unhinged part of this whole story. Real quick, if you're enjoying this and your YouTube feed is currently 90% AI generated history slop narrated by some robot voice, smashing subscribe literally tells the algorithm to shove this in front of more actual human beings, which is the entire mission over here. Anyways, back to the poison. With about 10 miles to go, Hicks is in the lead, but he's falling apart. He's begging his team for water, and his team, these two trainers jogging alongside him, say no. No water. Because remember, in this universe, dehydration is a strategy. Instead, they hand him strychnine. Now, if that word rings a bell, yeah, strychnine is rat poison. It's literally the stuff you buy to kill rats. But back then, in tiny doses, people were convinced it worked as a stimulant. So basically, his trainers invented pre-workout, except the pre-workout is the exact same thing you'd use to murder a rodent. They mix a little bit of it into some raw egg whites and feed it to him, mid-race. And it kinda works. He keeps going. He's hallucinating now, but he keeps going. And then he starts to fade again. So the trainers just go, some more poison will fix that, and load him up. More strychnine, more egg whites. In this round, they wash it all down with a nice shot of brandy. So the man currently leading the Olympics marathon is now running on rat poison, raw eggs, and liquor in 90-degree heat on basically zero water. Hallucinating so hard, he's convinced the finish line keeps sliding further and further away. One official watching him said he'd basically stopped being a person and turned into a machine. Dead-eyed, gray, arms hanging there like they're bolted on, legs barely leaving the ground. That's me at mile 2 on a treadmill run, and nobody's ever handed me brandy at the gym. And he doesn't finish the race as much as he gets delivered to it. His two trainers physically grab him, hoist him up off the ground, and carry him across the finish line, while carrying his legs. They keep shuffling midair like he's still running. That's it, that's the winning move. That's how you take home Olympic gold in 1904. You get poisoned, you hallucinate, and your buddies carry your twitching body over the line. His time was 3 hours and 28 minutes. To this day, this is still the slowest winning time in Olympic marathon history. By like half an hour. He lost 8 pounds during the race. It took 4 doctors to bring him back. And they reckon one more dose of rat poison and he would have went to see Jesus for real. Like, no on the verge. He never ran another marathon again. Ever. Can't imagine why. But yeah, that's your gold medalist. The mailman took a nap, the runner-up took a car, and the guy who actually won the race had to be carried across the line, half dead and full of poison. That is the real winner of the single worst race ever. Oh, and the whole rat poison situation? That's the exact reason the Olympics scrambled to write their first anti-doping rules right after. So at least somebody got something out of it. So look at who actually wrecked every single man in this race. Their own side, every single time. The heat, the organizers who couldn't hand out water, the trainers spooning rat poison into their own guy. The 1904 marathon proved that you don't need an enemy to completely destroy you. You just need idiots standing next to you. Which brings me to the greatest example of that in human history. Imagine an army, right? 100,000 men, one of the biggest forces in all of Europe. And in a single night, with not one enemy soldier anywhere near them, they somehow managed to panic, open fire, and wipe themselves out. No battle at all. Just 100,000 dudes, a barrel of booze, in the dark. That's the Battle of Carnibes. It might be the most embarrassing military defeat ever recorded. Next video, I'll break down exactly how an argument over a keg of schnapps turned into an entire army firing cannons at its own men, and handing the enemy the whole town they never got to fight over. Go watch it.